Hey everybody, Todd here. If you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. Today I want to talk about touring on this 2021 Harley-Davidson Sport Glide or a Harley-Davidson Softail if you've got one. So come on with me and let's jump into today's video. I just got back from a 4-day, 1,543 mile motorcycle trip that I took with my local Harley-Davidson Owners Group HOG chapter. We rode down to Kentucky, we left Michigan, rode through Indiana, Ohio, into Kentucky, dropped down into Virginia. So covered 4 states in 4 days. I think the longest day we did was 9 hours in the saddle. Shortest day was 6 hours in the saddle. So I thought that I would do a video where I reflect on that trip. As you probably know, Softails aren't really made for touring, they're cruisers. So I thought I would reflect on my trip and what it was like to ride this cruiser on clearly a touring trip. Now this is a bike that I've done quite a bit too. I've really played around with the windshield height, put the lowers on it. So I mean, I have modified this bike so that I could do some longer rides, but I certainly came away from that 4-day ride with some thoughts on changes that I need to make with the bike, and I've already put some of that in motion. So let's talk about that. Probably the biggest challenge that I faced on this trip was my lower back and my shoulders. So this bike has the turn signals on the handlebars, and it's got the mini bat wing fairing, so those turn signals have to be outside of that fairing. That kind of gives me a fairly wide stance on my bars. Now, if you look at where the experts say for comfort your arm positioning or your ergonomics should be, they talk about bring it close to shoulders width apart. Well, these bars are certainly wider than shoulder width apart, and quite a little bit. I mean, I'm going out here on quite an angle. The other thing is you want them to be about shoulder height. Well, I'm leaning, not only am I out, but I'm down. Even though I've already installed a 4-inch riser on these, they're still low. Look at the angle that I'm at, and I'm having to lean forward. So when you lean forward to grab your bars, that's going to get you in the lower back. When your arms are coming down and apart, that's going to get you in the shoulders. So you go 4 days over 1,500 miles. You know, the shortest day we rode was 6 hours in the saddle. So, you know, that really starts to get your back and your shoulders after a day or two of that. So I need to do something different on these handlebars. That's the #1 thing, because from a comfort point of view, riding with a sore back, sore shoulders, and gutting it out for 4 days, that's not fun. That's not what you want to do. So I already know I've got to change these bars out. Yeah, it's going to cost some money, because in order to bring them up and bring them back, you're talking about recabling, you're talking about extensions for the electronics. So yeah, it's going to cost some money, but what's the cost of riding around in pain for 4 days or not going on trips because you know you're not going to be comfortable? The other takeaway was this seat. Now I'm riding with my stock seat, which I actually like. I picked up a butt buffer pad, and that butt buffer pad really works out well if I'm riding up to about an hour and a half. Anything more than an hour and a half, and you're really going to start to feel it. Your butt's going to still get numb, and you're going to need some time off of the bike. And that's okay. You can stop and get some fuel, go get a drink, whatever. Even a little while off the bike, when you jump back on with that butt buffer pad on there, it's okay. But not when you're going to ride for 8 hours a day or 6 hours a day, and you're going to do it for 1, 2, 3 days in a row, now that's not cutting it. The other thing is no backrest. You look at all the touring models, and a backrest, something that allow you to sit up straight and just lean back a little bit, that's absolute must. So some of the changes that I'm looking at doing is it starts with the seat. I've gone ahead and ordered a Saddleman Explorer seat with the backrest. Once I get that seat in, I'll be able to get my position on the bike. From there, I can figure out what I need to do for handlebars to get me up, to get me in a little bit, and to bring it back to me. Once I have that, then I can work with my dealership and go ahead and get some risers, get some different bars, recable it, etc. So those are a couple of things that I have coming. The other thing is that I've determined is this mini batwing fairing and windshield combination. Even though I've got the wind deflectors, this setup right here that I've put together is beautiful. I mean, and it works good for riding a couple of hours or whatever. But here again, if you're gonna beat the pavement for 3-4 days and do some serious saddle time every day, this is just a very small wind pocket. I've gone ahead and ordered the Memphis Shades batwing fairing. So that's gonna be a full-size batwing fairing for this bike. And it's gonna push my air pocket out and give me a little bit more comfort on the highway, on the expressway. And putting that fairing on there, you're gonna have to relocate these front turn signals. So I'm gonna be relocating these down to the forks. Since I'm changing out the bars anyways, that's not that much of a big deal to do that. You simply have to get a bracket to hold those on the forks. And I'll talk about that more in the build once I get to it. But yeah, definitely gonna be making some changes. Now people may say, well, why don't you just sell this and get into a touring bike? And I looked at that, I thought about that. I mean, first of all, I'll take a beating. It's a 2021 motorcycle. I've now got 14,000 miles on it, but you know I'm gonna take a beating if I just trade it in at a dealership. And not only that, one of the reasons I chose this is because the bike only weighs 700 pounds. You know, you compare that to an 820, 850 pound touring bike, and moving this around the garage, duck walking it backwards to put it in a parking spot, etc., etc. Hey, there's a big difference, and we start adding an extra 120, 150 pounds on the bike. So I don't really want to go with a bigger bike. For most of the riding I do, this is great. So that's the direction I'm going. I'm going to continue to build the bike. New fairing, new windshield, risers, bars, new seat. Take it in the direction that I'm going to be able to ride this thing for 6 hours a day or more and be comfortable while I do it. Life's too short to ride a motorcycle uncomfortably. If you're going to do it, you may as well figure out what you want and go and make it happen. So that's what I'm going to be working on. So if that kind of content interests you, do me a favor and hit the like button, subscribe, tag along, and we'll see where this journey takes me. So I'll see you on the next one.